President Joe Biden convenes a call with allies and partners from across the globe. At issue, Ukraine and its ongoing battle with Russia. The meeting comes as President Biden urges lawmakers to approve more aid for Ukraine. The U.S. has approved 4 rounds of aid to Ukraine in response to Russia's invasion, totaling about $113 billion. White House correspondent Owen Jensen reports.
Tracy, that call President Biden held took place this morning with world leaders as well as the NATO Secretary General. In a readout from that call, the White House says President Biden reaffirmed the United States' commitment to supporting Ukraine for as long as it takes. National Security Council spokesman John Kirby addresses reporters in the White House press briefing room. Front and center, support for Ukraine.
On the call, none of the foreign leaders expressed concerns about continued U.S. support. They understand what's going on up on Capitol Hill.
The other day, President Joe Biden signed legislation that kept the U.S. government funded, but it did not include his request for billions of dollars to help Ukraine fight Russia.
We cannot, under any circumstances, allow America's support for Ukraine to be interrupted. Time is not our friend.
Meanwhile, President Biden's son, Hunter, heads to court in Delaware, where he pleaded not guilty to 3 federal firearms charges. And back in the briefing room,
this is an independent Department of Justice investigation. It has been, and which has been led by one of the prosecutors from the last administration.
The plea sets the case on a track toward a possible trial in 2024, while President Biden is running for re-election. And President Biden's main contender for the White House also showed up at court in New York. Former President Donald Trump appeared for the second day of his business fraud trial. Trump insisting today that the case should be dismissed.
Because of the fraudulent numbers she's given, many of which, Mar-a-Lago is just one example. We have other examples that are almost as good, in some cases might even be better. This case should be dismissed.
Meanwhile, also in the press briefing room today, I asked John Kirby about Senator Tommy Tuberville's current hold on military promotions. He says, quote, as long as the Pentagon keeps the unlawful elective abortion policy in place, my holds will remain, end quote. That said, will the Pentagon rescind that policy to move those nominations through?
I don't speak for the Pentagon anymore. I'm here now, so I'd refer you certainly to my Pentagon colleagues. That said, they have spoken to this many times. First of all, the senator's just wrong. It's not an unlawful policy. It's perfectly legal, perfectly in keeping with the law.
He says it violates the Hyde Amendment.
It doesn't. They've done a legal scrub at this at DOD. It's just wrong. While I won't speak for the Pentagon, I'm certainly just not going to let a lie and falsehood live on. It's not a violation of the law. It is a legal policy.
Now, I also asked John Kirby how it all ends, and he told me he can't predict it, but he called the senator's hold ridiculous. Meanwhile, 5,000 veterans have written a letter in support of Senator Tuberville's stance. At the White House, Owen Jensen, EWTN News Nightly.